Hey guys, welcome back to another episode on the Guide Me Glow podcast. And today I'm going to be talking about 8 things you need to hear if you're wanting to level up in life and just step into a more powerful version of yourself. How to basically get serious with leveling up and transforming yourself into becoming the most confident, highest version of yourself, basically, and how to kind of just put the attention and focus back on yourself and kind of just step into a new mindset. This is kind of a follow-up from my last episode. If you haven't heard that already, I did an episode on a summary of my Euro summer and the lessons that I learned from that. And today I wanted to kind of summarize, the key things that I really did learn, and that will help you to kind of get back on track. The summer's over now, which I'm kind of sad about, but also I haven't experienced like a proper winter in so long because I've been living in like Sydney and Bali. So I'm not even going to properly experience winter because I'm going back to Bali in November, like beginning of November, maybe earlier. We'll see how cold it gets in and see how much I can take. I'm not a winter gal, like I'm definitely more of a summer baby. I'm a Leo. I am a summer baby through and through. I love the sun. It makes me a better person. It makes me happier. I just feel more me when it's hot. But anyways, seasons are definitely important, especially if you look at things in like the seasons of life where things are always ebbs and flows. And summer, is a time for more freedom, fun, going on holidays and kind of being a bit more carefree. And then winter is when you're kind of working on yourself a bit more, staying in a bit more, and just kind of getting things done. And I think that's definitely important when it comes to your own personal life and professional life too, because you need those times to really focus on not hustle. I don't like using the word hustle because I'm not about hustle culture. When I say hustle, I mean more just being focused, a bit more focused, a bit more intentional, so that you can have the times of the freedom and building a life where you can have like freedom and fun and everything like that. But I think in life you do need to have those times where you are a bit more disciplined to create those freedom times. So I hope that makes sense. I am a little bit feeling not like 100%. I don't really know why, like maybe just from yesterday I just like didn't feel amazing, but I knew I wanted to get this episode out and I want to commit to doing weekly episodes again. So here we are, and I'm sure after I film this episode I'll feel a lot better because I always just love talking to you guys, and this really is just like a chit chat potty, like you're talking to your best friend on how to level up and step into the next chapter of your life. I want to do an affirmation of the day. I actually haven't planned an affirmation of the day, so this is just coming off the top of my head. But what is one thing that I feel like I need to hear today? The one thing that really springs to mind is just to trust yourself and know that whatever you do is always going to be the right decision for you in that moment in time, because it's going to lead you to a more skilled or more wiser version of yourself. Because although at the time it might seem like a mistake, it's always going to teach you a lesson to learn from it. So, and if it's the right decision, it's just like making you trust your own intuition and your own self more. I think instead of second guessing yourself and worrying what the outcome might be, or things that you can't really control because they're outside of you, I think the main thing is just to remain confident with yourself and know that whatever decision you make is going to lead you down the right path. So if you needed to hear that, there it is your sign, no matter what circumstance or what context that is in. I hope that helped you. So to get into the episode, I'm going to go through 8 key points that I feel like are really crucial to kind of, take control, or quote unquote control of your life, more so to be more intentional of your life and, kind of build up these success formulas, I guess you could call it, to kind of up level in your life and just all in all feel confident in yourself and to love yourself a bit more, because I think that's what it comes down to, is just feeling confident in yourself. And sometimes in life you might not even realize that you're not confident until you really think about it, and you're told. I think sometimes it's easy just to go about life and do your usual things and not really think about, how am I actually growing mentally as well, because you can be doing all the things like working really hard in work and, socializing and all these kind of things, but sometimes if we don't force ourselves to change, then we're never really growing, because we're doing the same things over and over again, and we're not really being aware of our blind spots and where we can improve. And although it's not the most fun thing to do when you're going through it, because it is looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, oh, okay, I need to like change some things, or I need to be more upfront with myself and think about why I act this way or why I do this thing. And to heal through it, it takes time and it takes a lot of energy, and it's not easy, and some days are harder than others, but I think it's always worth it in the end, because that's the only way that we can grow, is when we are self-aware and we do push ourselves to go to the next level, I guess you can say. But I think it's also just honoring the times of that life doesn't always need to be 100% happy and good. I think we need to also honor the times where life might be a bit more of a struggle, or like we're feeling not happy, or we're feeling other emotions, because it's normal and we're human and we're allowed to feel that way. I think the important thing is when we are feeling that way, is to really question ourselves. Why are we feeling this emotion? Is it because of past trauma? Is it because of our ego? Is it because we don't feel comfortable and confident in ourselves? The unhealed version of yourself, basically. But I wanted to give you some tips, so we're going to jump straight into it. So the first thing I would say is, life is a mirror. Where you are now is a reflection of your past actions. And I always like to remind myself this, because, when we are going through amazing times and we're like so happy and life is going amazing, it is a reflection of our inner self and our inner work. And I think a lot of time we can really notice that. And then on the opposite scale, if life is, or if not even life, it doesn't have to be so dramatic, but like one thing in your life is like going a bit not so sure, that's also a reflection of your life and yourself. Because I think it's a classic example of like when you get super annoyed by something, or if you are triggered by something, it's not necessarily what the other person is doing or what has happened. It's really your way of interpreting it. And the reason why we get so triggered and annoyed, or just like bothered about something, is because in our life, now maybe you also don't accept that part of yourself. That's why we get so triggered, because if we truly didn't care, or if it wasn't related to us, we wouldn't have any attachment to it. But if we get really annoyed by something, it's usually because we take it on more personally than it needs to be, and that's where the inner healing work needs to be done, and that's when limiting belief work needs to be done. Especially the summer was a reflection of me facing some habits I knew I needed to change, and like I said, it's not always easy to face them, and if anything, our ego wants us to shut it down and shut down any opposing opinions of us and turn a blind eye to it and say we're fine as we are. But that's when real growth happens, is when we actually be like, okay, maybe I do need to look at myself in the mirror and think, where can I improve in this situation? Because part of growing up in our late 20s is realizing, and just any age really, is realizing that change is confronting and it's going to be uncomfortable because we're not used to it. It's opposing opinion. Like, we don't like it when people disagree with us, but at the same time, it helps us to be open and open our eyes and change our mind maybe later down the line. And things might have to change. Like, you have to look at yourself and give yourself some tough love and admit that some things might have to change if you want to keep growing and become a better version of you. If you think about, if you stayed the same year after year, like, where would that lead you? Whereas if you're willing to do the hard things, do something that scares you and push yourself to do something that still feels aligned, but it's just like not something that feels easy, then think about how much growth you'll be in like next year or even next month. It doesn't even need to take that long. And this doesn't have to be big, and most of the time it really is within the small habits. For me, it was time, as I said in the last episode, but this has always been an issue, and I was just like late to things and left things till last minute. I just like to take my time. Lady of leisure. But with traveling, this isn't always the best quality because, you know, you have to be on time to certain things, and people aren't always going to wait on you. Like your transport isn't going to always wait on you. So for me, it was like a bit of a wake-up call because I knew it was causing a lot of stress in my life that wasn't actually needed and could be avoided too. And I didn't need to live like that, and I can give myself grace and time to do things leisurely but also still be on time. And this changes so much, and since then I've been trying to make a conscious effort to be on time, if not early to things, and it really does take the stress off. And this doesn't mean that I've, you know, since then been early and on time to every single thing. No, of course not. Of course there's been times where I've been late to things still, but that's the part of growth. You're gonna, you know, succeed and fail, and that's all part of the journey. Don't expect to suddenly change and be perfect after you decided you're going to be on time or you're going to change whatever. Like, it's all about learning, but the more you do it, the more better you're going to get at it. So I think it's all about just giving yourself grace and patience and knowing that in the end you will get there, even if it does take time. So I think that's one important thing to remember. Another thing is taking responsibility of your life, and I think this is very important because it means we're not falling into the victim mentality. And we all have been there, where we like to blame someone else, we like to complain, but at the end of the day, we are putting ourselves in that position. We really are. Like, obviously, unless you're like a child and you literally can't get yourself out of that situation. I'm talking about when you do have the choice and you do have options. Most of the time we do have options, and that's a very privileged place to be. But we need to take more responsibility of what we do and don't want to do, what we want to accept, what we don't want to accept. With this, I want to ask you, what are you running away from? Because I think sometimes it's easier to complain than really take responsibility of, you know, what is actually going on in your life. It's easier just to focus on the things that are working and not focus on the things that are kind of in the background, and you just kind of shove it under the rug and think, oh, I'll tend to it later. But really, you need to give it a good hard look, take it out of the rug, and really put that as the first focus and priority, because how you do one thing in your life is how you do everything in life. And with that said, I think it's important to take responsibility of everything you do in life, and it's really up to you. You know, your life is up to you, and it's up to you whether you want to not take responsibility and be the victim and blame everything and everyone around you, or, you know, make a change and take the risk and do different things. Another question around this is, why are you doing what you're doing? So we're bringing it back to short-term sacrifice for long-term reward, because if you think about the things that we struggle on and we ask ourselves, you know, why do I do what I do? So for example, in the past, I used to struggle with binge eating or overeating, and binge eating, I would say. And that's obviously a habit. It becomes a habit, and there's lots of reasons why someone gets into that. It was a past of restricting food, and being super strict to myself, probably not self-acceptance of myself, and it really was a whole cycle, a really dark cycle, and it went on for years actually, and it really was consuming my life. And, you know, if I was to ask myself, why am I doing this? Because obviously I don't want to do it. It's not really pleasurable for me when I'm doing it. I felt guilty. I felt it wasn't bringing up my confidence. It was just like not a good time and space for me. I think if I really dig deeper, it was because I was avoiding something deeper into my life. Because when we have those habits and addictions, such as, you know, overeating, binge eating is just as addictive as like if you're taking drugs or something, you know, because like sugar is kind of a drug also. Even like smoking or drinking, it's kind of masking and running away from like a deeper problem. If I really think about it, I think for me it was more so me not wanting to take responsibility of accepting myself wholeheartedly and being so focused on my image and, you know, what I looked like and everything like that, which it sounds dramatic. Back then it was a real issue. I think I felt a lot of pressure from like the industry I was in, and I just put a lot of pressure on myself that wasn't really needed. It also comes from a perfection type personality, and I really have worked on that too. I definitely still show forms of that, but I wouldn't say I am so like perfectionist now, because I know that, perfectionism doesn't really exist. And yeah, I just think there's like a lot of like deeper work that I did to get to a point where like I no longer do that, and it's all about being in tune with your body, listening to your body, listening to your intuition. And yeah, there's a whole nother story that goes into it. I have done a few episodes, if you are struggling with binge eating, about how you can kind of heal that, and tips to heal your relationship with food. And it's an ongoing thing. Like, took me kind of like years to really feel 100%, I guess, safer with food, and not be so like obsessive in that sense. And even now, I'm not to say I never have, those disordered thoughts about food. Like, sometimes they would creep in, but I'm learning more and more to like not really care as much, and kind of silence them a bit more, and not let them kind of override my actual thoughts, and knowing like what actually does matter, because it's all like a mind thing, like everything is really like a mindset. And when you're so obsessed with something, you just amplify it. So I think when you pay less attention to those kind of things, it kind of just like kind of fades to the back of your mind, and you're not so focused on it. But anyways, I don't know how we got to that topic, but taking responsibility, yeah, I had to take responsibility to be like, okay, if I want to get out the cycle, I need to figure out how to do this. And for me, I did try and see a holistic health coach at that time, and that was really eye-opening, although I don't feel like I was 100% ready for it at that time. Like, I just wanted someone to be like, give me like this plan on how to like stop binge eating. But obviously it takes deeper work than that, and it takes really digging deeper in, and hearing about what else is going on in your life, like what is triggering this. And I think definitely that opened my eyes to help me learn more about holistic health. And then going away to Bali really helped me, because it was also coming from a point of control, not feeling like I was in control in other parts of my life. So with food, it felt like I was in control. And when I went to Bali, I didn't have as much control over the food that I ate, because we were eating out all the time and everything like that. But that really helped me get over the fear of certain foods as well. And yeah, there's a number of different ways that you can help with that kind of particular issue. But exposure theory, therapy, not being around like triggers, like everything like that. And that was that was me taking responsibility of my life, because I'm like, well, if this needs to stop, then I need to like really try and stop this. I'm not just going to wish for it to stop, because it probably won't. Like, you need to actually, put in the effort, and kind of understand that it's not always an easy journey, but it is a journey, and you will get there in the end. Yeah, discipline over feelings sometimes, right? It's easier said than done, I know. But when you are lovingly disciplined to yourself, and you really get in touch with your true inner self, and start to fall in love with yourself, discipline becomes a lot easier, because you want these things for yourself. You're like, oh, well, why would I want to overeat? Because I love my body too much, and I want to put it through that. I want to work out because I know my body deserves this. And then knowing the difference between like, no, I'm actually going to give my body rest today because I don't feel 100% good. Like today, of course, if I felt 100%, I would go to the gym later. But also, I didn't really have time. I met a friend all day today. I'm recording this today, and today I'm actually going to prioritize doing more work. And I've walked a lot today, so it's not like I've never, moved my body. Knowing when to draw the line, basically. And I think, there is a fine line, but that's only for you to decide. Back to basics, really, and just like to build and create routine, and that needs consistency, and that also means having a good community around you. Having responsibility doesn't mean that you have to be stuck in a box and living life like doing the same thing every day. Absolutely not. Like, you can still go and travel and have fun, but having some stability and taking responsibility in certain things in your life that are important to you is crucial to just remaining your confidence. I think I notice that's like when you're traveling around a lot and you're not really having a good set routine and there's no consistency in your life, sometimes you can lose yourself a bit. So what I really recommend is creating a routine for yourself, whether it's a morning routine, an evening routine, or just some sort of ritual that helps ground yourself no matter where you are. And I think that's really important, and that's something that I really learned, because when you're just too caught up in just, you know, running and go go go, you get totally burned out, and like it uses a lot of energy. So I think grounding yourself is extremely important. That leads me on to my next point, which is no one is going to save you. And this is kind of like the hard truth, to be honest. Like, it is entirely up to you. You know, your life is entirely up to you, and no one is going to do it for you, really. I mean, you might have the support, you know, if you're lucky enough, you have the support from your parents, from friends around you. That is obviously amazing. But at the end of the day, only you can do the things that are going to help uplift your life, grow your confidence, because no one can like go into your brain and make you think a certain way, you know. It's like you really have to change that for yourself. And I think sometimes it can seem super overwhelming, and you're like, where do I even start, because there's so much information out there. How do I even change my mindset? You know, I don't even feel like I have the energy or the motivation to do that. But just take it slow and just do what feels best for you. If that is reading one page of a self-development book a day, do that. If it's listening to 5 minutes of a self-development, self-growth podcast, do that. If it's having a conversation with a friend, do that. You know, there's no right or wrong way, exact formula on how to become your best self, how to change your life. Like, everyone's journey is so different. So I think it's important to just honor your journey and do what feels right for you, and not compare either. I think that's a massive thing. These days it's so easy to compare. You know, you go on social media and you see someone's highlight reel of, you know, them doing so well, or, you know, they just seem like they're doing amazing, and then you compare it to your life of like, don't know, just like scrolling on social media. But we all have those moments, and just remember, social media is not a, you know, 100% real representation of someone's life. It's definitely a representation of, you know, a part of someone's life, but not necessarily you know, a whole person's life. So don't compare their highlight reel to your whole life, because we all have good parts and quote unquote bad parts of our lives. You know, it's normal. So don't look into that so, I guess, so seriously, and don't look at it as so black and white. But when I say no one is going to save you, I mean what you want in this life is going to come true because you decided it can. If we don't decide to kind of, okay, take responsibility of our lives and start to really get things in order, sooner or later it's just going to pile on top of us, and it's just like going to be harder. So I think the earlier we do this, the better it's. Like, there's so many times where I've like done things and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like thanking my past self for this, because I've just made my life so much easier. I just think the longer we push stuff off, the harder and more complicated it's going to be. I do, you know, believe in timing is also very important, and it comes to us when we're ready. So the challenges that you're facing right now, and whether that is for 2 weeks or for 2 years, just let it be. But also, work through it. Don't ignore it. Don't sulk in it. Don't be the victim. However much time it needs to be, it clearly needs to be that time. So don't force yourself into like rushing the experience and feeling like you need to be at this place at a certain time, or you need to achieve this by this time, or whatever. Just let, you know, whatever you're doing just flow. And I think that takes a lot of pressure off things and makes things even more enjoyable. The next point is, how do you want to live your life, and what kind of person are you becoming? So this is something that I want you guys to consider, because I want you to take a look at your life right now. And sometimes this can be confronting and not nice, or it can be really good if you're doing really well and you feel really good about yourself. But to a lot of people, this can be very confronting, because maybe it might be the first time in your life where you are looking at your life as a whole and thinking, how did I get here? You know, what is my life? But I think it's important to remember not to measure your life based on materialistic things, events, or, you know, just the physical. I think it's important to know, okay, maybe I haven't grown as much, I don't know, in like work or something, or in even like physically, but you have grown so much within your mindset, and, you know, how you think, and, you know, the boundaries that you now set and the ways that you react. Like, think about that as like a way to grow, and not just focusing on like, oh, how many designer handbags do I have? Because it's like, okay, that stuff is great, but it doesn't really necessarily, show like what kind of person you are. I always say is like, you can measure yourself and your maturity and your growth based on how much you feel you have inner peace. How calm is your nervous system right now? Like, are you reacting to things a lot? Are you just letting things be? Are you just focused on yourself? Are you, constantly still wanting validation and approval from others? I think it's important to look at your life and be like, okay, well, what am I doing every day? Is this going to get me to where I want to be? And what needs to change? What am I basing success and happiness on? Has it worked for me so far? If it has, great, keep going. If it hasn't, maybe reevaluate and think, okay, well, how can I change this then? Because, if it's not bringing me happiness and I keep doing the same thing, something's got to change. Otherwise, you're going to keep repeating the same patterns over and over again. And also envisioning your future goals and becoming clear. So envisioning your future goals and becoming clear is extremely important, because it helps you stay on track and it helps you keep your focus on the main thing that matters. And your goals can change. Don't feel like you have to stick to the one goal you made like 5 years ago. Your goals can change as you grow older, and I think that's completely normal. As we get older, we want different things. And I think it's always important to reevaluate your future goals, and instead of being so fixated on the one goal you thought you always wanted, maybe have a little think, about how has that actually changed? Do I still want that thing? Does that thing still mean the most to me? Why did I even want that thing in the first place? It might change, but I think it's important to remind yourself of the future you do want, and it kind of takes yourself out of the box for a second, and you can see things from a bird's view eye and think, okay, well, are the things that I'm stressing about, does it really matter at this point? Because if it doesn't, then you can so easily just forget about those things really and focus on things that are going to make an impact in your life. So I think it just kind of puts things in perspective. Okay, so another point is limit your distractions and take back your time. Time is very important, guys. Time is like the only thing that keeps going. We can't take back time, we can't stop time, we can't pause time, we can't fast forward time. Time just keeps going at its own pace. Therefore, we need to be selective of how we spend our time and more mindful of how we spend our time. So what are you doing that is distracting you from reaching your goals? I think we know it in ourselves, like when we're just kind of wasting time, when we're putting off things, procrastinating, that is stealing time away from ourselves, and we need to be more intentional with what we're doing with our time. And this doesn't mean that we have to be go all the time. This doesn't mean we have to be constantly working, doing something. No, sometimes we can just actually schedule time for mindfulness, to just kind of lie there, do nothing, time for silence, thinking, time for play, time for work. Whatever we do, as long as it's keeping us at a point where we feel more connected to ourselves and where we feel more happier, then that's when you know that you're spending your time wisely. For example, we take it back to social media, scrolling, comparing, overthinking, like all this stuff is stealing our time. Although it might give you some benefits of ideas and inspiration, if you weigh it up, you're like, is this giving me more joy or not? Weighing up in that sense, is this helping me or draining my energy? We need to get back to focusing on ourselves and just getting back on our own lane. Do things that feel right for you. Your time will come. There is no perfect time. There is no right time. There is no, this is a step-by-step formula to success. You can create your own journey and your own success. I think it's just important to stay focused on your own lane. Try not to get distracted by others that aren't making you feel good. And it's just figuring out what feels authentic to you. Because I always say, like, in order to really kind of make a change, it's always comes from a place of being that different person, not following the crowd, going on your own lane and showing people your true uniqueness. And that's what captures attention, rather than following everyone else and doing the same thing. Like, you want to be the one that stands out, and by doing that you have to do things differently, or you have to do things that at least feel aligned to you, even if that is differently, you know. Okay, so another thing is boundaries. Are you respecting your own boundaries? A reflection of this is your friendships and relationships. How are your friendships and relationships right now? If you think about how they treat you, if you think about how you treat them, are you respecting boundaries? Are they healthy relationships, or are they toxic relationships? And how true are these friendships and relationships? Can you fully rely on them? Can you go to them for support when, you know, you're not feeling your best? Can you trust them? These are all important factors to consider in your friendships. And having boundaries is one of them. Do they respect your boundaries? Do you respect their boundaries? What are your boundaries? There's like a lot of questions right now, but this is all important. Basically, are you being treated how you really want to be treated? And if not, then why are you accepting the behavior even if you don't want it? And this always comes back to self-love. And yeah, a question that popped up on my Instagram was about, like, if men are always on your mind 27. And the answer to this is bringing it back to yourself and falling in love with yourself first, and setting your boundaries, putting the focus back on yourself. Because the reason why we focus so much on other things and other people is because I don't feel like we're truly happy in our lives. And I know that might sound a bit like savage, but it's true, because it's like, when you're just happy doing your own thing, it's like you're not overthinking about other people, whether it be boys or friends or whatever. Like, you're happy doing your own thing, that, you know, whoever is in your life that's going to bring you joy, they're just like, you know, joining in along for the ride. And then anyone else that isn't serving you and isn't showing you the intention that you need and love, you're going to be like, well, why do I want to talk to you anyways? Because you're not bringing me anything in terms of, you know, whether that is your time, your love, the attention, you know, being heard. Like, basically, don't want what doesn't want you. When it comes to guys and men, or, you know, girls, whatever, I think we need to strengthen the relationship with ourselves first, and be in a position where we are happy with ourselves to be alone, rather than settle for guys that are just giving bare minimum. It's just like not it, and we deserve better than that. And I know it's easier said than done, because, you know, when emotions and feelings get involved, we can turn a blind eye to guys that don't treat us the best, and we're like, you know, caught up in it. But I think sometimes that's when we need to take ourselves out of it. And although it's hard, you know, time will pass, and when you start working on yourself and focusing on yourself, you'll probably meet someone that is way more aligned. And I think the friendships that we have and the relationships that we have really are a big reflection of ourselves and our self-love. If you have friends that are so amazing, supportive to you and kind and everything like that, that is a reflection of you. And same in a relationship. If you have a relationship that, you know, someone that will do anything for you, you know, in a healthy way, of course, and is there to listen, to support you and validate your needs and everything like that, it's because you feel comfortable and confident in yourself to communicate that. Whereas if you're always, you know, going for people who are emotionally unavailable, people that you feel like you're chasing, or people that can't communicate, then you have to question and look within yourself to be like, where am I almost ghosting myself in that way? You know, where am I not paying enough attention to myself and giving myself the consistency, or giving myself the love and attention and validation? Because when you know, give yourself that love and validation, and, you know, you give everything you need to yourself, you really don't need anyone else to give that to you. Like, anyone else that's going to give that to you is truly an extra and a plus. You'll only accept that. You know, why would you settle for someone that doesn't give you that when you can give it to yourself? You know, like, there's no need. So I think with relationships, it's the big reflection of your own self-love, and it's just something to consider. And sometimes this also ebbs and flows, you know, depending on where you are in life, where your self-confidence is and where your self-love is. And if you have no idea where to start, I would say the first thing is just to, first of all, just not focus on anyone else, in terms of like, if someone's on your mind, kind of like cut contact with them if they're not serving you the energy you want, whether that's like muting them on stories on Instagram, like archiving their chats, like whatever it takes, do it. And then putting back the focus on yourself, so not going on social media too much, focusing on your inner healing, doing things like mindset courses, like for example the one I have inside my Glow membership and platform. I have a course in there. It's a limiting beliefs course. Like, do things like that, listen to podcasts like this, surround yourself with people that are in the same community and wanting the same things. It's, basically putting yourself in the right environment for you to thrive, not putting yourself in an environment where people are not supporting you and not willing to listen to you or give you that support. It's all about just bringing it back to, going where you feel loved, and you deserve to feel loved. Don't ever feel like you're asking for too much. If you feel like that, it just means that the other person doesn't have the capacity to give you what you want, and that's okay. It's not their fault. Everyone's different, everyone is in different timelines of their life, but maybe that is not the person for you at this time, so you can move on and go towards someone that is willing to give you the time and the love that you deserve. But with that, you need to create boundaries. Don't settle. And being alone, being single is great fun, because you get to learn so much about yourself. You get to do whatever you want. You're not tied to anything, and I think learning about yourself is the most important thing before getting in a relationship. So don't feel like you need to be in a relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship. And that leads me to my next point, is expectations. Do not hold any expectations from others apart from yourself, because if they have not agreed upon expectation, then that's not fair to them that you're expecting them to behave in a certain way. I think there are certain expectations, like, friendship expectations, relationship expectations, but I think they also need to be communicated, because like, people can't read each other's minds and we're all very different. So what I think of as a good friendship is probably different to someone else's idea of a good friendship. So I think you need to just like talk about those things and like align with those things. Same with relationships. Sometimes someone might be really annoying you because that you're like, how could they do that, so rude or whatever, but then maybe they don't see that as a problem, and you need to communicate to them that you don't feel comfortable with that, and then how they respond is like up for you to decide, okay, do I feel like I can move forward with this person or not. But setting unrealistic and kind of, not even unrealistic, but setting like expectations on someone when you haven't communicated them is like basically asking them to mind read. And people have a lot of stuff going on in their own minds, so I feel like we always think that people need to be thinking of our needs first, and then we get disappointed. But I think it's important to kind of think about, how can I provide value to the other person as well as honor my own boundaries and expectations. And it comes back to, no one really owes you anything unless it's discussed and agreed upon, and then you can hold them accountable. My next one and last point is intuition. This is probably number one, guys. Stop asking everyone about their opinion on your life and taking it as Bible. Meaning, trust yourself and stop asking everyone, what they think about this situation, what if they think about this guy. I think, it's normal as women, we love to talk things out. So we all love a gossip, don't get me wrong. We all love to, an agony aunt. But I think at the end of the day, you always have to go with your own gut feeling and what you feel like is best for you, because there's been past experiences when I've been younger and I've been more naive, and I've let my friend basically answer for me to something, and it just like never really plans out well, because it's not coming from myself. And you as yourself, the situation the best, and I think you just need to have more confidence in yourself to express that, and to be like, I deserve to want this, I deserve to get this kind of thing. And I think it's just being intuitive with yourself and not doubting yourself so much. If you are confused on something, take a step back and go towards what makes you feel good. Think of like, what's the next best thing that's going to make me feel good? If you are confused, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's doing a meditation, maybe it's watching like a YouTube video or like a podcast about the topic to make you feel better. It's all about self-soothing, right? You know what's not going to make you feel better, so don't do that. Although sometimes we do, just to numb out the feeling. But for example, scrolling on social media is not going to help you. When we feel confused, it's all about giving ourselves space and time just to like be on our own for a second. And you always know the answer. And the right next step is, you know, the one, like I said, that feels best for you. And the one, if you think, if, you know, you didn't care how others perceived you, or you didn't care how others judged you, how would you respond? And that comes from within. So that's probably like the best way. And always in a respectful way, obviously. But start to listen to your intuition and put yourself first instead of waiting and doing things based on other people's needs. When it can jeopardize your own. If something doesn't feel good to you, voice it. You're allowed to. Your opinions are valid. How other people take your opinions are on them, it's not on you. So don't worry too much about how they're going to respond. Just like think, okay, did I say what I wanted to say? And if you didn't, say it. And if you did, great. And don't expect anything from them. Just as long as you said what you need to say, that's all that needs to be said. And then that's that. That is my episode of the day. I hope this helped you feel, you know, motivated to kind of take control of your life again, and step into that next glorious version of yourself. I'm gonna leave you guys with a challenge of the week, and this week we're gonna do a full reset challenge. So I want you to make yourself a daily goals list of doing things that make you feel good, and do it in some shape or form every day. I'm going to upload some content on my platform. If you don't know, I have a monthly subscription platform and community you can access through my website, guidemeglow.com, for you to formulate this on your own. It's going to have daily affirmations on it, mindset shifts, and we're going to help you thrive your best mentally, physically, and spiritually, and also grow in your career, because it's for all my creative girlies who are wanting to up level their career, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether you are a creator, influencer, model. This platform is really to help support you in the best way that I know how to give you guys. It's obviously a community, so the more people that join, the more you're able to connect with each other, like right on the community, so you're able to communicate, introduce yourself. There's recipes on there that you can make that are going to support your health, and ones that you can make quickly, you know, on your busy schedule. Like I said, there's mindset courses, and there's going to be journal prompts that I'm uploading very soon, and just all these things that are to support you as a creative, because I know how challenging it can be to keep on top of your well-being as well as thriving in work. I think a big problem is us putting so much focus on work and not putting enough energy into our well-being, or finding it hard to balance, and also finding it hard to find a community that's there to support you. So that's why I created the Guide Me Glow platform and community. So it would mean the world if you guys could join and get yourself involved in it, communicate, write your name, share what you do, write your Instagram, and we can all connect. Sign up and you'll get 7 days free trial, which is always amazing, so you can have a look. You're not locked into anything. You don't even need to put in your card details at first. Sign up for the 7-day free trial, and then you can decide after if you want to stay or not. That is my episode of the day. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know what kind of episodes you want to see in the next season, because we're getting a next season next week, because we're on episode 40. So this is an exciting time. Normally I do give a break in between seasons, but I felt like I gave a big break over summer, so we're just gonna go straight into it. But I love you guys lots. I would really, really appreciate it if you would give this poddy a review and rating on Spotify and Apple Podcast. It really helps my podcast grow and reach more people like yourself. And yeah, it helps me keep making more. So I really appreciate you guys listening. And sharing as well. I love it when you guys share on Instagram that you're listening to the podcast. Tag me at Guide Me Glow pod and I will repost you. But yeah, that's about it from me this week. I hope this helped and I will speak to you guys next week. Love you lots. Bye.